Summit. Now, I would like to introduce one of very senior IT manager, uh, Tansir Kunjan. I will just give introduction. So the topic Mr. Tansir Kunjan will be talking is how to define strategy for IT aligned to business strategy for larger organizations. Just to give you a quick introduction, uh, so Tansir Kunjan, as a retired CIO for Almarai, of course, it's one of the largest dairy company in Middle East. Okay, so he retired as head of IT recently. He boasts extensive expertise in a diverse array of IT domains. Over the course of his career, he has excelled in developing IT strategies, managing IT services, and conducting business process analysis, re-engineering, and what more. With a keen eye for vendor and resource management, Tansir has overseen application development, deployment, support, and ERP implementation, business intelligence, and more deployments. So he is experienced in hardware and software evaluations, software quality assurance, and initiating and implementing IT security measures. Additionally, Tansir has successfully established and managed offshore development center. So I know Tansir Bhai personally, and he is one of the pioneer in IT, especially in Middle East. Okay, so he bring rich knowledge in defining IT as a true enabler for the organization and make it as a competitive advantage. Okay, so we will be very passionate to hear you, Tansir Saab. So please carry on and wish you a nice presentation.
Thank you, Abdul Qadir. I think that was a good introduction. Thank you, and a very warm welcome to all the participants who are currently in this webinar. As Sheikh has just given a brief introduction. I'll just move to the presentation just to share my screen now. Yeah, I hope everybody can see the screen. Just if you can, somebody can confirm. Okay. So moving on. First of all, I think I would like to thank DataLabs for giving this opportunity.
Tansir Bhai, one second, one interruption, please, if you don't mind. Ladies and gentlemen, I request all participants to note the YouTube link. As the YouTube link will be this LinkedIn link will expire at 2 o'clock, around 2. Okay, so after that, the new link will be shared in the conference page. But please note the YouTube link so that you don't miss uninterrupted streaming. If you post in YouTube also, you will get the questions. Sorry, Tansir Bhai, it's very important notice I forgot to tell. Please continue, sir.
That's fine. No worries. Okay. So without further delay, let's start. Again, today's topic, aligning IT with business. That's the key topic, the essence of the topic, I would say. And just a very quick brief about myself. I have about 30 plus years of industry experience in various functions, starting from the retail to manufacturing, logistics and planning, supply chain, etc. I was working in Almarai, which I think, like Sheikh Abdul Qadir mentioned, where during my tenure, we had a 40x revenue growth, meaning from 500 million Saudi Riyal to about 20 billion Saudi Riyal. So that's a significant, and all this, during this time, supporting the IT function, make sure that the IT function is an enabler is a key aspect. And Almarai being a trendsetter in technology, it just proves the fact that even today they are the leading leaders in technology in the Middle East, in whichever aspect you talk about. So just that's a quick brief to all of you. Now let's start the session objective today, which is defining IT strategy that is aligned with business strategy. Of course, it's for the larger organization. Now, from my side, I think I would like to add this part and say that in sustain it. It is not only it's not a one-year game, so it's a long-term plan. So quite obvious, we have to not only ensure that the IT strategy is aligned, but also sustain it over a period of time. That's going to be my key objective to explain to all the audience today. To start off, I think it's very important for us to understand where we are before we start on a start evaluating ourselves. We need to evaluate ourselves before we start developing a plan. Everybody in the organization generally talk about value of IT. The moment you say, in our company, the value of IT is valued a lot, maybe it's a myth. You need to first evaluate what you're doing, why is it important. Without this, you don't know how deep or how your penetration is within business functions. How to do that? So I think first thing, does business value IT? Ask yourself this question. Maybe go to the middle managers, go to the senior managers, different stakeholders in the business at different levels, not necessarily looking at few people who want to praise you, but go speak to many people, maybe many staff, especially I would say the middle managers and the lower end users as well, just to understand what IT brings to them or what value does IT bring to them. Managers or EVPs are important as well, because that's the point where actually you see realization of it. Okay, so it's very important that we ask this question. And once you get this answer, maybe more often than not, it's a people-related stuff. So if you have good relationship with people, you may get a good response for point number one. But I think ask yourself this question: has IT demonstrated its value? What does this mean? More often than not, IT being a support function, it is important that we understand. Our existence is to ensure that we provide appropriate support to business as and when it is required. So whenever we want to demonstrate IT value by ensuring that we are up to speed, we provide users with what currently is suitable and it is available as a technology to business. It's not necessarily the user to come back and demand for things and then we, in a haphazard way, deliver things. This is exactly the opposite of what we want. We want to ensure that if we don't understand the user's pulse, we'll not be able to do this. We'll not be able to get a right answer for this. Again, all these questions you have to ask yourself. How well aligned are business and IT on a day-to-day business management? Now here, it's very important. Every business has a day-to-day, operational stuff, which is what lays the foundation of the relationship. And how well is IT aligned with business on a day-to-day basis? I think we need to just check what business processes are there and how good are you aware of what is the impact if something breaks down or there is some concern or complaint. How do you ensure that they are effectively understood first by IT guys? I think just to give some example here, if you are running a logistics operation and if the truck loading facility is having a challenge, you know that there is going to be a knock-on effect and it's going to run into hours even after you fix the problem. Even though you may say that my problem only took 1 hour off, that 1 hour of peak has a delay impact of maybe further for next 5-6 hours. So it's just a simple, how well aligned are you, you as an IT, aligned with business in such understanding. This is very important on the day-to-day operation. Lastly, on the support what IT offers. I hope that you understand the business, but what kind of support do you offer in case you get a support call? So how do you respond to it? And how do you ensure that you stand shoulder to shoulder with business in ensuring that this is, you provide them the right support. So those kind of things, if you get a right answer, well and good. If you say that, look, I have always been appreciative, we always do good with business, we understand the entire kind of business process, what are there, and we support them, fine. The easiest way to do this is do a kind of a survey, customer survey, find it out. I'm not expecting a 10 out of 10, which is which is I would say an extreme possible score. Because we are a support entity, always there will be ups and downs. But at the same time, anything less than 8 would be, there's an opportunity for improvement. So probably expecting 8 to 10 would be a good number for us to be to plan for. Okay. Now, I think first when we have this understanding, it's important that this understanding will now take us to the next step, which is ensuring that we understand the business properly. So this is first, we did our basic job. Why are we here? We are a support entity, and first we need to do our fundamentals right, and that's what we did here. Okay, maybe you say it doesn't have a direct impact on alignment, but yes, it is a prerequisite kind of thing. The next step is understanding, who are the influencers for your plan. How do you, when you align, always you will see what are the areas, where you need to look at what kind of things can influence or contributors to this whole strategy. We need to understand that. That's the key fundamental. Again, I think this is the area where you really have a big start for alignment. Number one is understanding business plans. Many of the IT managers I have seen, or CIOs I have seen, they fail to understand this concept of understanding business plans. They expect that they're the last in the line, and once business is ready with their plans, they'll come back to us and we will talk about it. In that case, according to me, it's too late, and you are now becoming a reactive organization, not a proactive organization. So you need to be with the business. You need to understand business plans, which means go sit with your business, talk to them, understand what's their business plans which they are having for following year. Like just to give an example here, if maybe the business managers or maybe the stakeholders tell you that we are growing by 12% in terms of revenue, understand where the revenue growth is coming from. Is it coming from just horizontal growth, or maybe the general growth, or are they having some business expansion plans, means opening in the new locations, so that kind of thing, or maybe new product strategy. Now, when it comes to product strategy, it's now all of these have different impact. That's the reason why I'm trying to elaborate here when I say business plans. So you will need to understand. If it is just a simple expansion of maybe adding, say, 1,000 more customers, which first thing you need to, as an IT person, you have to say, okay, will there be a challenge in adding 1,000 customers to my IT solution existing? No problems, no problem. But the moment you talk about a different product stream, like for example, you can say the business, we want to enter into ice cream business. So all these days you are into a different retail business, which had either a chilled van or an ambient vans, and now you are into frozen. How will you manage this? Is it does your system support multiple visits by different sales representatives, or so many other things, aspects which you can talk about from logistics point of view? How are you going to track? Like I'm sure there will be some requirement to track the temperature in the vans, etc. So these kind of things. Or just imagine if the business says we are entering into completely different, let's say something like a meat industry, where you are not going to go by no more pull kind of ordering pattern. It's going to be push, or the sales is going to happen maybe in a weight based, which is you need to implement a catch weight management system kind of thing. Now that's why it's a understanding business plans is so important and vital part of this process, that at the moment you understand business plan in detail, there is no point you will align yourself efficiently. Of course, you can be reactive by when you are provided the data, but it's always going to be haphazard and it's not going to be aligned. And hence, I suggest this is the first thing you have to do is align, understand the business plan in detail, where the revenue growth is coming from, what are the changes which are being planned, and what are the strategy in terms of maybe capital investment or whatever, if there is a new factory coming up, etc. This will possibly in the next slides it will tell you the importance of this going forward. Next is technology changes. You already have implemented a lot of technology currently. Just first, in the first point, you were asking business this question of what's changing. Now this time it's going to be technology. Here you'll question yourself and say what technology, if there is any technology obsolescence or significant upgrades which are already announced or upcoming, this is the area where you will try to now understand those areas which can have an impact in your IT strategy in the time to come. Again, here you should not stop short of saying that this can be done sometime later, or there are some things which I need to do it urgently. Yes, I can always do it next year when the gun is in my head, but that's, again, as I said, it's an afterthought or a reactive. So here you need to think it through, think as to what needs to be done, and we'll do that. This is primarily for those technology which is already implemented. Next one, continue the same thing about technology. Innovation is always coming or is always there. Like in the previous session, Mohammed was mentioning, innovation is a fundamental for any industry right now. Even in IT is the same thing. So what technology changes can bring benefits to business? Think about those, and any business in terms of process improvements, whatever you can, including technology. Like if I say moving to cloud will possibly help me save some money on, or maybe it will bring efficiency in the way we do our business on a day-to-day basis, or will help us enhance the service levels, etc., whatever it is. So think about those things. Always remember, this is not only about the technology in IT, but also it's in business. So you have to think what technologies are there in the market which can help my business grow. And if I don't understand my business, in my previous slide which I mentioned, here you will fall short of this. You won't even understand what the business requirements are, and how will you ensure that, how will you provide them this update. That's when I see a lot of CIOs reacting to user requests in the last minute instead of them working together beforehand with the people. I think it's more important. Yes, you know about technology well, they know about business better. So that's why the connect always has to be there. And that's why evaluating where you are from a user perspective will possibly give a lot of thought process and ideas to identify projects in this. RPA could be a simple area, but yes, it can add a lot of value to business. So that's how you need to identify where you're going with this. Then, of course, every country has their statutory requirements. It could be taxation. It could be, like PDP right now, which is the personal data protection. Those kind of rules, which are nowadays very strict, and it has to be followed. For us, it's important from an IT point of view to understand all those statutory and think and ensure that they are in our execution plan eventually, which we will try to prepare, but need to understand them specifically. So this is primarily to do with either VAT or GST or whatever you call it, which in your country, relevant in your country. In some cases, it's specific tax like sugar tax, etc. In Oman. So probably you'll have more in different countries as well. So you'll find whatever statutory requirement are there. Those will be one of the key areas of influences. And also finally, the IT security. Here, I think I mentioned IT security as a separate aspect, not included in the technology, because IT security is a little bit beyond that now. Moving to cloud has opened up different thoughts for us. We have to think security from the word go rather than incorporating them eventually. If you want to provide right services, sometimes IT security projects cost more than the project itself. This is a big challenge which we face, especially for people setting up at the initial first time. Of course, they will support 10 more projects which are scheduled to come. But I think the first time when you set up IT security, it has to be done properly, not cut corners and say that for this particular project, I will go with this shortcut. And then for the next project, I will try to implement because that has some money and whatever it is. But from a security point of view, it has to be planned properly from the beginning. And I would say if you have this 5 topics covered, this is the most important foundation you would start from an alignment point of view. Once you have this, what's your next step now? You have got all those inputs. You have now a good idea, a fair idea of what is the requirement or what's the expectation from business. You as a IT manager, the CIO, have to now develop the roadmap for yourself. Now, like last week, we spoke in the last previous session about various topics. each of these will give birth to many projects. They could be one or many, depending on the area, be it business plan, be it technology changes or innovation in terms of technology or statutory or security. All this, I think, first thing is here is where you start listing your projects and ensure that these project list is aligned with business. What happens here generally when IT start thinking about projects, they try to outweigh business projects with technology projects, which is why you will see a lot of disconnect with business eventually. Yeah, IT projects have to be there. I'm not saying that infra projects are not important, but at the same time, business project cannot be ignored. Okay, so start preparing a list of projects, and then I think the next part is the most important. This will also ensure that how good is your relationship with the business stakeholders. Agree on the ROI, which is the return on investment, and the timelines, because some projects are urgent and some projects are not so urgent. Yeah, they may be important, but not so urgent. So from a timing point of view, when business, why I say this timing point is because there are certain types of business where business would generally not like any changes. Like for example, in Saudi or in the Gulf in general, it's the Ramadan period. I'm sure there are many other periods like in India would be somewhere the last quarter. So there are so many times and occasions where the business is at peak and you don't like to implement. So that's why align with a high level. This is a very high level alignment. The ROI part is important because you cannot just keep implementing new technology without having appropriate ROI. If the returns are not there, it's for sure it's not going to fly. Maybe year one you have a business stakeholder who is an influence person, you will possibly get it through, but after that it's going to run into problems because ROI is not there, and you're going to struggle presenting that project eventually when you are executing it. Or that's the reason why you need to just pull up the ROI. So you need to make sure the business is also having equal stake when you identify the projects. Okay. This cost, finally, of course, because we are talking about a commercial entity here, so obviously its budgets are important, and the manpower requirements. Associate these two. Once you have this list prepared earlier, this should, I would not say it's a cakewalk, but it is doable, quite doable, because if, like for example, if you were to implement a document management system, you say what is the budget required, so it's going to be about say whatever, $100,000 or $150,000, whatever it is, and then the associated manpower which is required. Again, here it's important to understand that if you don't have proper people to support, of course the consulting company can come and implement or support us in implementing this. Is also we need to understand what will be the manpower required locally to support it in future, if in case the implementation is going to be outsourced, but still the support has to happen eventually. Either even that can be outsourced, but still we have to understand what's the manpower required for this. Okay, so moving on. Here, this is the next step again, like the second step, it's important, prioritizing the execution plan. What do you prioritize? Obviously, the execution plan has, you had a wish list of things. In the previous slide, when you started listing project, there was no boundaries, because we only thought about what is the business plan or what's the technology requirement and what's the new innovations available in the market. We just started, it's more of a wish list. It created quite a big list, or maybe a decent sized list. It could have been, there would be about 100 projects listed there, and of course it's all a wish list. Now is the right time to say, okay, gentlemen, let's sit down and just talk about what exactly we want to do. So it's impossible that you can do everything, but that's when you start prioritizing. On what basis will you prioritize? The first thing, quite obvious in any business, will be a favorable ROI. Generally, I consider anything less than 3 years as a favorable ROI. So yeah, if you have a project where we have a tangible ROI of less than 3 years, can be listed or can be considered, because that's quite a decent time to recover the value, and after that it will be a benefit for business. The next is business needs. Here in this, sometimes there is a pain in business which may not have a very tangible ROI, but of course, if you see, it does give you a decent, business benefit in terms of efficiency, or it could be in terms of reputation. So that kind of thing also, of course, once we quantify this, to give you a good example of that, when we have to send statements to customers, just imagine it used to take about 5-7 days to send statement. We just installed a bot there which does a job of a person validating, seeking the data from various locations, consolidating it, and ensuring that it's sent across to the customer. It all happened in just next 2 days time. So the second day we could month end is over, and the following day the data is accumulated, and by night it is sent. So it didn't have a tangible ROI in terms of value, but yes, it did have a good reputation in reputation stuff. So it could be business need which is driving it. So many other areas like reconciliations, those kind of areas as well will cover here. Next is a statutory requirement, which is quite obvious. It's a no-go here. When we are doing prioritization, there's one big challenge, especially in this statutory requirement. Everything is P1. It cannot happen. When you prioritize, when you look at prepare the list of 100 projects in the previous process step, now you will say, okay, when we have to filter those projects, everything is important. That's what business will say. Now here in the case of statutory, it's more important, especially if the legal team or the finance team will come back and say this is statutory and we need it. Yeah, there's nothing wrong in it. PDP is a good example. When PDP rule was launched, they give you normally a time, year and a half or whatever it is to implement. So when you have projects associated with this, you need to look into them and see if, for example, September 25 is the launch date for this particular statutory requirement, and your project timeline you say is 6 months. You need not put it as P1 in 24. It can always go P because the timeline will be high, or maybe required there's a user UAT required, blah blah blah, whatever it is. So that's why you may need to priority list it as a project, but not necessarily as P1. It could be P2. But if there is project go live is in 24 December, we have to complete it before November. Obviously, it will remain P1. So each of these areas, like ROI point of view, we said we have a tangible number. Business need, it's not necessarily tangible, but it could be more reputation and efficiency. Statutory requirement, it's more the target timeline and when we should be ready with. And then we have security related. Obviously, this is another area where there is no boundaries to it, and here is where you will start getting into a lot of debate whether we need it or we don't need it. We already have something, etc. So this is more up to the company to say where you want to be. I don't know, maybe what level of certifications you have. So it also depends on that certifications. It's better that we have consolidated tools. Nowadays, you get so many tools for desktop security or for IT security related stuff which are available. So more migrating to those will possibly help, which in turn will also give you a favorable ROI as well if you already spent that previous money. So IT security related stuff will be also have to be prioritized. And if in this case, projects like linking back to your AD or your authentication with HR solution, where you disengage an employee and all the cloud access systems access has been terminated, this becomes a kind of a P1 kind of a project for you. Those, because we are moving cloud now, so no more on-prem. On-prem means at least you had the choice to say the guy cannot come onto his PC, so he cannot log in. Those days are gone now, long gone, I would say. And then hence IT security projects have to be considered and prioritized accordingly. And then last is technology driven. Obsolescence of technology is a key driver here. Maybe you have a tool which you are using, it's already end of life, like Windows is now announcing for Windows 10. Similarly, you will have for many other tools which you have already implemented. So you need to make sure that you list down these kind of projects and try to justify for every project which you want to take it up. Of course, now the objective is to execute or manage those projects which you can execute them. It's not about just listing down the projects like in the previous step. Now you are going to filter those projects and make sure that you have a list which is kind of required list. So the next step here is get this plan approved. Yes, you have done the hard work, you have prepared the list, you have justified the need for it, yet there has to be approval by the management. So first thing is, I think, revise the roadmap, because your first roadmap, what you prepared post or project list, what you prepared was too vast, and now you have done the filtering in the previous one. Some timeline point of view, which based on the business needs, you will revise that time plan, and then next step, review the budget. Now here is where most of them, I see a lot of people coming, asking me questions saying that, okay, how do you get the budgets approved? Because most of the time we are having challenges in getting this budget approved by the management. Agreed. I think more often than not, I see this as a challenge for a lot of companies, especially who don't see value in IT, who don't see this as IT as a contributor to business. And I think you got maybe the first step. It's sort you have to look at why is it required, what efficiency are we bringing in, has to be demonstrated. Then this challenge, that's first part. Second part, also you go back to the relevant business stakeholders. See, only there are few technology projects which have to be budgeted in a generic way. Otherwise, most of the projects are linked to specific business stakeholder. So make sure that you get a buy-in from business stakeholder, understand that, yes, he understands what you are thinking. Oh yeah, I think this will bring great value to me, or yes, I will be willing to support this. So make sure that there is a buy-in. Don't try to, because more often than not, if you try to go unilateral, then obviously you will get stuck because there's no business case associated with this. Okay, once we had the business buy-in, then you will obviously see that this challenge will reduce significantly. Okay. Finally, I think stakeholder approval for plan. As I know, I think why I'm asking this, you will normally have a lot of companies having multiple rounds of approval, once in a 5-year plan, another one in a budget, etc. So you will have a stakeholder approval required for the plan, so that you can now propose this as a final spend in the coming year or years. That's what will be the last step here. And only when you get approval for the plan, you can proceed. Here, I'm sure in some cases, we will have discussions even up to the project level, because if you are given a blanket value-based budget approval, you need to again go back, revise the plan. So probably you will revisit this last two steps, going back, revising your plans, and again, revising the ROIs, make it more stringent, or challenge business on the needs, etc. Look at the security aspects. What is your appetite? Look into that and just come back and say what is required and what's not required. So basically, for me, more important here, once you complete this step of approval, you are ready for the execution part. Again, coming to the execution part, here is another area where I see the sustaining part as a most important aspect of this from here onwards, because everybody will always give you a chance to demonstrate your value add from an IT function point of view. If you either don't come up to the expectation, or don't try to provide them that that satisfaction or that efficiency expectation, you will not be able to manage the same influence, or we get to influence them next time around. Now here, that is what we are trying to do here. Whatever stakeholder approval we received, we will initiate projects based on those. Of course, it's a standard project management methodology which will be used whichever you're using in the organization. And then start challenging yourself. You always will say evaluate yourself against with the plan versus actual. Okay. Now, again, introspection is one of the important aspects, because we are a service entity or a support entity where we have to ensure accountability is there, not only in terms of our day-to-day support, but also in such things where when we can bring whatever value we bring to the company, to the organization, has to be measured time and again. Now, of course, everybody will have a timeline. A project was planned for 6 months. Keep monitoring them. This is standard for any project management methodology which you will use. Here's the last step, which is I see most of them missing out. We declared project efficiency or effectiveness at the beginning of the project, saying that, yeah, my ROI is 3 years time, or my business need is whatever it is, or there are some intangible benefits which we are going to achieve. I have seen very few people going and getting this done after the project is completed. Of course, here there are some challenges why people don't do it as well. I'll tell you, because most of the benefits realization comes a little bit down. Maybe it's not necessary as you close the project. There are projects like RPA projects where you will get it immediate, but there are other projects where you will see that you realize the benefit only post 3rd month or post even 6 months sometimes. So but still, I think it's our responsibility to ensure that we will cover this, and we will keep this on track. We'll not close the project and say, yeah, project implementation is done, but the benefit realization or the effectiveness check is pending. So track them and ensure that this is done. So this will highlight, some of the EVPs or maybe the stakeholders who would have given you wrong ROIs, or who are over a period of time you will be to assess these guys, saying, okay, when I'm going to this guy, if he says 3 years, it's actually 5 years, or whatever it is. We can challenge them next time. Maybe we'll be able to challenge them more effectively. So that's why it's a very big part of effectiveness, and this is what will demonstrate the value of IT and bring in the faith in the IT team, basically. So don't miss this out. I think my suggestion here is, whatever you do, the benefit realization part, it's not so easy to be done. Like in Almarai, we used to have an independent function do it. It's not the function which is implementing, not implementing. It never used to be IT anyway. It used to be either finance, or it could be even sometimes even internal audit, or sometimes even different function of finance, like it's corporate finance instead of sales finance, etc. So we used to have to get it done with different independent parties, either internally. Most of it was internal because we didn't do any external assessments, although we had an option to get this as well, but we never got that done. But more often than not, it is internal, but from a different team. So they will go through the project definition, project deliverables, and check the effectiveness eventually. So the last part here is more on the part of the sustaining part again. Make sure that you report the plan and actual on a regular basis. It's important that when you talk about the executives, it's important that you keep them updated. It's not about just signing off the budget and ensuring that, okay, the budget is signed off and now you are given the money and that's it, you go. So the previous slide was more about the monitoring and managing the project, and now this is about reporting the project. So reporting back to the stakeholders in a very, very structured manner. I think the more important, most of the time when I see this, what I mean by structured manner, I don't know if you have any technology steering group or you have some kind of organization committee where you have to report these project updates. But even there, you have to use a proper single method of updating projects. Every project, whenever this was the biggest challenge I used to face, every project update was sent in different, somebody sends me in a single slide, somebody will send me in a 20-slide update. And every time you try to go back to the senior management, they will lose track. So probably for me, it's more important that you provide update in a structured manner. So whichever suits you. In fact, I was inclined to put in some, the templates, but I think with Excel available to you, you can define, because there is a subtle difference between every organization. When it comes to the step 2 and 3, it's the same thing. You have to list the projects and you have to provide the priorities, and then it's a continuous thing. So you can create your own. It's not a big deal, but at the same time, essence should be there. We need to ensure that all the content what we talked about it's there. I think it is another part which is always important is, if at all there is a changes, make sure this is communicated. Don't try to I have seen this also not being agreed upon. No, you have to make sure that any changes to the plan are agreed upon, and anything what you do, because changes is imminent. I don't think there will be a year past where there will be no changes absolutely to whatever we are doing. We'll always have changes to the plans, but these changes have to be agreed and communicated. Nothing wrong in changing the plans, but my objective here is to make sure that we communicate this going forward and to everyone. That's the point what I was trying to highlight here. And I think with this, we've just finished in slightly earlier, so probably we are here with the Q&A part.
Yeah. So very interesting, Tansir Bhai, very interesting, very insightful sessions. First of all, I would like to say that 48x, you said, okay. So from 500 million reals to, I did not hear the, but it's 48x. That is,
it's 40x it is. So it's 20 billion now. That's the last year turnover.
So 40x growth, and you stay from all the way as an IT head. So that shows how successful the organization you made through IT alignment. So that is, I don't have to say this anything. And one last point, when you say, you talk about the reporting, the standardized, simplified reporting. I still remember the 4ops. You made a very simple one pager, 4ops. So for each project, say you need to ask for a weekly report, 4ops. That was fantastic. Actually, we used that same template in some of our clients, by the way. Okay, so credit goes to you. So fantastic. So let us take up some questions. We have time. So basically, so one topic is now everybody is talking about generative AI, and really it's a breakthrough, groundbreaking technology. Okay, and you have been in IT for so long for the very large organizations. Okay, so how does that large organizations are affected with Gen AI? So how can they make use of it? Okay, so any insights in that, Tansir Bhai?
Okay, look, first of all, the industry is always, sometimes you see IT industry is always blamed for some things sometimes. Either because of early adoption or because of, it could be delayed adoption as well eventually. But otherwise, it's too much over publicity. In this case as well, I'm not going to say that there's a lot of benefits. If you see most of the solutions now, AI is quite a few AI components are already built in. But it's only either we do a hype by overselling it or by underselling it as well. Okay. Overselling in some cases where, for a normal day-to-day process, the AI will support us only in very few actions. Like, whatever I try to do, can I do it faster? Why should I think?
Productivity.
Yeah, exactly. The productivity will enhance the productivity part. But at the same time, is it something which, will add a significant value in the way I do forecasting? Now, that's where, for me, more important, where, if I can get my revenue alignment right, or if I can get my forecast right, those are more long-term processes. And that's the area where we focus. And there's already quite a few solutions and things in news. And people are fearful of this Gen AI because of so many negatives it can get to the organization. Like a lot of companies are a little bit resistant at this point in time. But yeah, they will all get aligned, but it's just a matter of time. For me, productivity improvements is bound to happen with this. As I mentioned, when you go and talk to business stakeholders, if they respond to you positively, like when the RPA change came through, it's the same thing. RPA was not accepted so easily. It's impossible. It's not doable. And now when we literally, when we had to prove at least one business process, only then we got the buy-in. And then, yes, the demand was kind of flooding. So we were finding it difficult to manage the demand for a short period of time. So that way it happens. The same thing will happen here. There will be areas where, the productivity areas where Gen AI will help people do their job. But it's like no need for the industry to overhype. Let them adopt at their own pace. It's only their maturity will give them, rather than we pushing and saying that, okay, this is possible. Yeah, possible is different. Adopting is different. So I would say that industry should not try to push it beyond what is required, because it's a technology which will sustain itself, but it needs a little bit time for people to understand and adopt it.
Fantastic. So let's take up the next question. Thank you. So usually in organizations, since you led the IT for larger organizations, so there are two kind of things. So general purpose ERP, and then a line of business, vertical, the integrated. So like a business specific solution. So it's always debate. Shall we go with the industry vertical, or shall we go with the general purpose ERP and adopt to it? So what do you think? I know it depends on the organization, but what is your understanding of the management and how it will help in aligning IT to the strategy, especially as far as applications is concerned?
The core, I think when we refer to core ERP, the alignment is important for organization to be proactive. Okay, so integration, or the layer of integration behind this, has to be, very solid. Meaning, if you have any solution which can any day-to-day transaction which any employee performs anywhere, it has to translate up to the finance, the value out of it, without it seamlessly. There should be no manual interference. Now this is for me, for example, creating a PO, or you receive you make a GRN in one of the warehouse anywhere, automatically the commitment or maybe the vendor balance has to increase, and it should be visible for the the accountant who is sitting in head office. This should be very, very seamless. You cannot introduce a warehouse management system which is not highly integrated or seamlessly integrated with ERP, with your core ERP, just because, it provides you a couple of extra benefits. Okay, so that's whichever ERP you take. So seamlessness is important. Whereas now coming to the other aspect of it, for example, SCADA systems. If you see, where do you draw the line between SCADA systems? SCADA is the machine. Obviously there's a lot of requirement there, local. And now you have your ERP, which only needs a feed from it. Meaning that when the transaction is done, you cannot do its job, but you don't expect that you run the machines. But at the same time, once the machine has done its job, you need a feed to say, yeah, I will now book the production order, the production produced quantity, so it will be available for inventory to be picked. So that place, it's a very, as I can see, a boundary which is very clear, which is what we did. A lot of people, if you go to SAP vendor, they will tell you, no, we can also do a little bit below. Or you go to Wonderware or any other solution, they will tell you, no, look, you don't need your ERP. We will do something a little above as well. No, as an organization, you need to make sure that you draw the line where it is appropriate. Like in this case, where I said it's pretty straight. Other tools, like the industry verticals, which you are referring to. See, nowadays, these big guns have a time to market, which is actually causing this, creating this gap. Yeah, they come to the market with this new tools or line of business requirement a little bit late, and that's what causes this time delay and forces people to look out, saying that, okay, if you're having a forecasting tool, if your forecasting tool is not efficient, what do you do? Obviously, you will try to go. Forecasting here doesn't mean it's only numbers. Everybody, when people talk about forecasting tool, they only say that it's projecting the sales figure going forward. That's only a start point. Starting a forecast. So obviously, below that you have, you have to the procurement forecasting, the machine forecasting, the people forecasting. All of them come together. So it's not one. Now this whole forecasting process can be isolated from your ERP because it has no direct financial impact. Okay, that's the reason why there is always a give and take when it comes to big guns or even a big ERP solutions company, where people talk about people go or push to LOB only when there is a dire need, maybe that complex process or whatever it is. So I would say from an organization point of view, what we tried to do was anything from end to end from a supply chain perspective. We always had it in ERP. Okay, we never bothered to go outside, starting from procurement to from manufacturing and then dispatch operations, we never bothered. Sales solution, obviously, it was a very seamlessly integrated solution. So this way, there will always be a choice to be made by whoever is the stakeholders in the company. But behind the scenes, seamless integration is what is the fundamental.
Seamless integration is the fundamental. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Fantastic. So one more question, sir, for you is like IT budget allocation is almost always a challenge. Okay, so there is a lot of requirement for IT to perform. At the same time, there are budget constraints. So how did you convince Almarai to invest so long and successful?
Okay. To start off, maybe again, it's another big achievement, I would say, from my side. So far in my entire career, none of my projects were rejected. Okay, and I think it's people will say, okay, yeah, maybe in that case you are lucky. Your management is good enough. No, it's not like that. It's like I mentioned in the alignment aspect. If you don't look at the budget, you don't look at the ROI, you don't look at the priority, you don't have the guts to challenge the business stakeholders, you will not succeed, because you are the one who will take it forward from an IT perspective. So you have to make sure that this is a genuine requirement and this will add immense value to company. If you keep demonstrating it over a period of time, then obviously, because you have always demonstrated the value, the business knows that whatever you are asking for, they will get benefit out of it. So I think that first slide of mine, which I said, okay, evaluate yourself, is very, very important in so many aspects. Maybe on the lighter side, it will tell you, yeah, we need to, why is it something we need to evaluate? We are always good, we know that. It's a very, very known comment, but has an impact on these kind of things. When people come to me, yes, IT budget, you have to justify it. There will always be challenges. There will be debates. I don't think there will be debates on, why is it that IT budget is being squeezed when we cannot manage, blah, blah, blah. But no, it is something for us to introspect. And always, every time I used to go back, I used to tell them that this is the places where we have gained money this year, and this is the places where we have added money. So obviously, it's always increase. The cost is only going up, but of course, our revenues are going up as well. So we could justify the percentage to revenue. And I would say any organization working in less than 1% revenue or less than or equal to 1% of revenue, they are doing good. They need not do anything better, because if you do go below that, you are trying to, you're going to get trouble somewhere else. So 1% is a decent benchmark. If you're hovering around 1.1, it should be okay, acceptable. But anything above that, yes, there may be some opportunities for us to improve. I have seen that there are companies who are operating even beyond 2, but that's mostly banks and other financial institutions where their business is running on technology. So that's a different segment of business. I'm talking of trading business or manufacturing setups. These kind of setups generally run at about 1%. Pharma business generally has a slightly higher number, which goes up to 1.5 because of their compliance issues, those requirements which are specific to that industry. But generally speaking, for a normal trading organization, a 1% target or 1.1 the target should be pretty decent.
That's fantastic. I interacted with some CIOs for some projects and all, So they go by 2%. Okay, I think they're not very efficient, as you rightly said. So 1%, I think if you are living with 1%, that's amazing. That's definitely an amazing achievement. Okay, so and if it is a so large organization, and if you are able to do it for 1%, that's fantastic. So thank you, sir. Any final thoughts? Any advice for IT alignment part? Final note for you to the participants. So any question?
No, I think it's there's always one size fits all concept. Does it work in this? Your organization is different, so don't try to be, try to read too much between the lines with all those, material available. Normally, what people do is that they try to run behind some of the concepts. Concepts are there to refer. They are not there to be 100 stringently followed, because they are very generic concepts. So, but you go through the concepts. I'm not saying reading is bad. Reading is always good. It gives you a lot of thoughts and ideas, but make sure that the final outcome will be what you need tailored to your organization. Okay, so it's just to make sure that you also understand your business rather than just doing a copy paste, which won't work.
Fantastic advice. So make sure that you do what is best for your organization. Don't just copy and paste. That's fantastic advice, Mansir Saab. So thank you for joining and giving your time, valuable time. Okay, so very well. And if there is any questions because of the time, so we will let you know, and then we can get the answer, the
No
questions
worries.
answered offline. Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye.